I grabbed a 1x4 to make a dupe of this $140 designer shelf for a fraction of the price. Let's see if I can do it. I used select pine to make sure it didn't have any knots in it, and then I traced half circles with a roll of electrical tape along the bottom edge to create the scallops. I cut out the scallops with a jigsaw. I used a multi-tool with sanding attachments to get out any imperfections and make them nice and smooth. Next, I made 3 pocket holes on the backside of the scalloped piece, and I used wood glue to secure the 2 boards together. I wiped the board clean with a damp rag and then applied American walnut stain. I let it sit for a few minutes, and then I wiped off the excess stain with a clean rag. After it dried, I used painter's tape to map out the center of each scallop, and I pre-drilled holes to install gold knobs. Lastly, I attached the hangers on the back to secure it to the wall, and that's how I made a scallop shell for under $40 American, and I think my version is just as good, maybe better. What do you think? Would you make it or buy it? I hope this inspires you to create your own versions of your favorite items.
Head to Amazon to purchase 12x10 glass wall mirror tiles, unbox and unwrap the mirrors and the spray paint. Take mirrors outdoors and lay them on a protective surface. Use water to spray all over the mirrors with a spray bottle, and then take the gold and antique pewter spray paint to spray along the outside edges of the mirror tiles. Allow time to dry and then wipe them off with a towel to see the aged finish. Open the pack of wood slices and pick out 8. Take outdoors to spray paint flat black on both sides. Use a level and painter's tape to create a guide to attach the mirrors in an ordered way on the wall. Take adhesive squares and glue that's included with the mirrors to attach to the back of each tile. Then place along the painter tape guideline and work horizontally and then vertically, applying the tiles securely. Once the mirrors have been attached to the wall securely, take the same glue from attaching the mirrors and use it on the back of the wood slices to place in the inside corners of the mirror tiles. And there you have it, a cheap way to create your own inexpensive version of a Pottery Barn look on a budget.
Grab a couple plastic planters and bowls. I'm starting with 2 plastic planters. I'm going to place one upside down and then use a really strong glue like E6000. On top of this planter, I'm going to add a bowl. And then we're going to put another bowl upside down on top of that. And then finally a second planter on top. I want to give this plant stand a terracotta look, so I'm using just regular acrylic paint in orange and brown to get the perfect color. Then I'm going to add some baking soda. This is going to give a matte, chalky finish that looks a little bit like stone. Now I can just use a wide brush and paint this on to the plastic. When it's dry, you can really feel that soft, almost stone-like finish. But I've definitely got some spots to cover up, so I'm going to go ahead and add a second coat. Don't brush too hard or you can peel that paint right off the plastic, but some nice gentle strokes should cover everything. There's a couple ways to style this plant stand. The first is for a faux plant. You can style this by adding a piece of wood to the top and using it as a decorative side table. I hope this video inspired you to grab some plastic planters and bowls and create an anthropology-inspired plant stand.
I bought a bunch of 2x2s from my local store, making sure they were all straight. I cut them into 21-inch and 3-inch long pieces. In total, I needed 28 pieces of 21 inches and 32 pieces of 3 inches. Once all the pieces were cut, I started with the 3-inch ones. One by one, I sanded the sides lightly and glued up 6 of them together, making sure they stayed straight, aligned, and clamped tightly. I made 5 more sets the same way. Once the glue dried, I connected all 6 sets to form a 6x6 wood block and set it aside. Next, I worked on the long pieces. I glued up 6 pieces together, keeping them aligned on one side and pressing down on top to make sure they stayed straight while clamping. I made another set with 6 pieces and 2 more sets with 8 pieces each. After the glue dried, I placed the 6x6 block upside down and attached the 2 6-pieces set on opposite ends, clamping them together. After glue dried, I removed the clamps and attached the 2 8-piece sets on the other sides of the block. Now it was time to fill the gaps between the curved edges of the 2x2s. To do this, I mixed a little sawdust with wood glue and fill the holes one by one. As this was going slow, I applied glue directly into the gaps, added sawdust, and rubbed it in so it settled evenly. If you want to avoid this step, you can pre-sand the 2x2s before assembly. Once everything dried, I cleaned off the excess sawdust and wiped the surface with a damp cloth. Next, I gave all sides a good sanding until the surface was smooth and level. After sanding, I taped alternating rows of 2x2s with painter's tape. To create the checker pattern, I taped the entire top surface, then marked indentations on all the sides. Then used a ruler and utility knife to cut the tape into a grid pattern. I carefully removed the squares where I wanted the paint. Now for my favorite part, painting. I spray painted the exposed squares with a shade called Deep Forest, covering all sides. Once the paint dried, I peeled off the painter's tape. Finally, I applied a water-based clear sealer on all sides to protect the wood and finish. I love creating pieces that are both functional and stylish. This table makes a gorgeous chess setup, and when you're not playing, it doubles perfectly as a chic little side table.
Recently, I came across a handcrafted sea glass beaded garland on the Pottery Barn website, but it was $99, and I knew that I could easily dupe it myself. So I'm going to be using some matte Mod Podge, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to dump a generous amount of the Mod Podge into a plastic container. Next, I added in some food coloring. So to get the sea glass color, I used blue and green, and I added just 1 drop of each color of the food coloring. And then using a wooden popsicle stick, I mixed it fairly well into the Mod Podge, making sure that there were no marbling techniques left in, that it was fairly well mixed. To thin it out just a little bit, I added in just a drop of water just to make sure that I could get the Mod Podge to swirl around inside the glass beads. Next, I used a measuring cup and I poured the Mod Podge mixture into a measuring cup just so that it would pour out easily into my glass beads. The opening on these glass beads is quite small, so I needed all the help I could get getting the Mod Podge in here. This is a very messy DIY, so I opted to wear latex gloves as well while I was working. I used a paper towel to wipe off any excess Mod Podge on the outside of my glass bead because I didn't want that to harden on there. Once I filled all my glass beads, I stuck them onto wooden barbecue skewers and then placed them into some styrofoam. This is just so that all the excess Mod Podge can drip out through the opening of the beads, and I let these set here for about half an hour. Then I took a baking tray with some parchment paper and I placed the glass beads onto the baking tray, and then I placed them in the oven and baked them for about an hour at 200 degrees. Once they were done in the oven, I did let them cool down sufficiently, leaving them for a couple hours so they weren't hot to the touch. Then I took a twine rope and I placed some tape around the end just so that I could thread it on easily onto a needle. I used a yarn needle with quite a big opening so that I could slide the twine through. It is a little tough to get the twine through, but the tape does help. Once I had my needle threaded through, I took one of my glass beads and I threaded it on. So just poke the needle through both ends of the glass bead, slide it through, and then when I get to the end of my twine, instead of just tying just a simple knot, I actually did a couple knots, and then I also did a loop. So I have a loop hanging off the end of my twine so that in case down the road, if I want to hang this up on any of my decorative shelves with hooks, I can also hang this as well as lay it flat in any decorative bowls and dishes. So just have my hoop there and then push the bead all the way down to the end. Then I continued sliding on beads and tying knots in between each bead. I did 3 knots in between each bead to make sure that my glass beads wouldn't slip through any of the knots and touch any of the other glass beads. I tried to make them as uniform as I could, but they're not all exactly even. But I just continued doing it in this fashion, working until I threaded on all the glass beads onto my rope. When I threaded on my very last bead, I made sure I tied 3 knots as well and then finished it off again in a loop just like I did on the other end.
And then all I had to do was cut off the excess twine, and then my sea glass beaded garland is complete. I went ahead and set it up in my home here in a nice decorative wooden scoop bowl, and I think this just adds such a nice nautical feel to the room. And what I'm most happy about with this DIY is that I was able to take something that was extremely expensive from Pottery Barn and put my own spin on it, make it in my own style, and save a ton of money. Thank you so much for tuning into Home Talk, and we'll see you on another video.